Welcome to Digital Soul Food. I'm your host, Jason Wallace, and I appreciate you checking out this podcast. Hit subscribe so you know when the next one's about to drop. Tell your friends and family. Let's get more people, listening and tuning in because I think we got something good over here. So if you think back to 2012, 2013, 2014, you had the Nike Football Society, aka NFS, taking over New York City for the fall. We had so much fun playing flag football. So we had to talk about it. We still talk about it. NFS is like, we live and breathe NFS. Like, I got my NFS, I got my Knuckles jersey, t-shirt. You can see it, my East Village Knuckles shirt on right now. So for this episode, we go back to the origins of NFS. I talk to the creators, Christian Grant Fields and Julian Duncan, who were both at Nike at the time, who crafted NFS for us, curated it. So we can have a good conversation. So if you're ready, put your cleats on. Let's go.
Here's my love, mine. Take here's my love, mine.
Hey, welcome back to Digital Soul Food. I got CGF and Julian Duncan, aka JD, former Nike employees here. NFS, this is what we're talking about. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yes, sir.
No doubt. So, JD is now the CMO and SVP of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and CGF is an esteemed marketing consultant. So I want to kind of, before we get started,
I'm going to put that in my title.
Esteemed.
Esteemed.
Hey, so one of the things that we're really big here on Digital Soul Food is origin stories because we're comic book fans. So, want you guys to give your origin real quick before we jump into NFS. So we'll start with JD.
Yes, sir. Well, once again, appreciate you having us for discussion, dude. This is it's a fun topic, fun conversation, and it's really good to reconnect with you brothers. I'm originally from Houston, born and raised, 3-sport athlete growing up as a kid. But I had a middle school coach, high school coach actually asked me if I've ever seen any 6'2", 6'3" power forwards playing in college or in the NBA. And once I said no, he was like, son, your future's in football. So doubled down on that. God blessed me with some ability, earned a scholarship to Rice University. And when I finished up there, played in NFL Europe for a hot second, played in the Canadian Football League, and hung up the cleats, wound up going back to school, focusing my master's degree studies in marketing and general management, earned my MBA. Then I went on to work at Nike in brand management. My last role there was brand director in charge of the LeBron James business. But while I was in the midst of my career there, had an opportunity to be a part of the Nike Football Society community. When I left Nike after 10 years, went on to help run marketing at Under Armour, and then moved on to the Jacksonville Jaguars about 2.5 years ago, where I'm now in charge of all the marketing and social responsibility efforts for the Jags in the NFL.
That's pretty dope.
So where do I begin? I feel it's so weird because I know both of you guys and but
the audience doesn't know you though. They want to know who you are.
That's true. Christian Grant Fields, but everyone calls me CGF. Even like my parents call me that. I'm not even sure where it started, but those are my initials. 39, just turned 39. March 8th was my 39th birthday. Born and raised in New York.
You've been hanging on to the 30s for about 20 years, bro.
Tight. I'm hanging on to I got less than 365 days left. So, from New York, was a basketball guy growing up. But my father, David Fields, played football, played in college, and I always really had a love for football. And kind of was kind of relegated to just being a stat guy and really just knowing, the 2001 Miami Hurricanes team is the best college football team ever. And I can tell you who played at this college. Like, that's kind of just my thing with football. I love to play it. I just wasn't as good to kind of play at the next level. Wasn't even trying to do that. So after I graduated Morehouse, I started, actually, that's when I met you, Jason. I was playing basketball at Rucker, and there was a sign for Dime Magazine, like an internship. It was a basketball magazine here in New York, and was working there, and that kind of ballooned into me getting a job at Nike, where I had a few positions. I was in Eakin, which is kind of a tech rep, had kind of the middle New York City to northern New York City, Bronx area, kind of region, where I would go and just kind of talk about the new tech in our shoes and the new apparel and moisture wicking technology and the difference between Air Max and Zoom. And did that for a while. And, this guy named Julian Duncan was lucky enough to hire me as his football specialist, and worked. It was actually a really great time to get that job, because that's right when Nike got the NFL partnership. So it was so much going on. It was like new jerseys and new technology and Flywire on the collar. And it was just really exciting time for the brand and the category, and an exciting time to work in the category. So thanks. I'm always grateful every time I talk to JD for that. That's how I got introduced to NFS. Originally, shout out to Darren Ryan, who was on the football team before, but him and JD kind of came up with the concept. And after JD went to Portland, and I think Darren went to Portland as well, it was kind of me there, and kind of picked up the torch and kind of kept things going with NFS. After Nike, worked at the robot company with Paul Rivera, who we all know, and Maverick Carter, shout out to those guys. Then followed JD to Under Armour, went down there for a little bit where I was the senior global marketing manager, basketball. Then went back to robot, and then started to do my own consulting thing not too long ago. And it's been pretty cool, kind of, doing the proverbial eating what you kill, rather. So, that's it in a nutshell. So.
That's a great path, man. Like, we definitely known each other for a minute.
Very long
time. And JD as well. Like, I met JD at Black NBA in Orlando. He was recruiting for the Nike MVP program. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. That was like, man, that's a blast from the past right there. I forgot about that.
11 years, like 10 years, 10, 11 years, something like that.
I remember that because you were like, yeah, I'm coming from Purdue. I played ball. I'm the guy for you. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. I remember all of that.
Fact. So, but let's get back on track, right? Let's get back. So, NFS, right? So, we know NFS is Nike Football Society. Yeah, for 3 summers, 3 falls, it took over the city. Nothing moved in New York from September to December when the league ended, if it wasn't NFS related. And so, you guys were on the inside. You guys were the brand that launched it. So, I kind of want to get the origin story. Like, where did you guys come up with the concept of NFS? How was it? What was the decision on, hey, we're going to bring this football league to New York? Because New York is not traditionally a football city. We're basketball. So, what was the thought behind that?
Yeah, so if you don't mind, Christian, I'll jump in.
No, that's you. Remember, I wasn't even involved. I was in the office, and I'm listening to what you and Darren are talking about. So I'm interested to hear what
DJ was ear hustling, like.
right. All right. Well, so check it out. So I remember vividly when the opportunity came to me to move to New York and work on what they call field sports. So they asked me to go assume leadership of field sports under the leadership of Mark Patrick, shout out to MVP, who's now the chief marketing officer over at, I think it's Beyond.
Beyond Meat, right? Yeah.
Beyond Meat. He's doing big things. But MVP was our leader out in the New York office at the time. And I remember it was a lesson for me in like not listening to the outside voices and actually kind of trusting your intuition and your gut and kind of blazing your own path. I remember somebody saying to me, why are they sending you to New York to work on football and field sports? Like, there's no high school football in New York, and high school football is what we're all about. And there's no college football in New York. College football is what we're all about. But what they weren't thinking about is what Christian was talking about earlier. They didn't have the thoughtfulness to read the tea leaves and see that Nike was getting the NFL back into the fold. And that really our job was to go out there and kind of till the ground, like till the soil in preparation for something that was coming in, I think, 2014, which was the Super Bowl, which was coming to New York. So, that's one of the I guess the secrets to success for Nike is like, they don't, as much as it feels like they're kind of like in the moment, they're playing chess. They're thinking years down the road. And this was one of those things where it's like, okay, if the Super Bowl is going to be in New York and we're going to get back engaged with the NFL, we need to make sure that we have an authentic point of view on this game in the city that we love, where the Super Bowl is going to be. And so they sent MVP, they sent me out to kind of help with that. Because one of the things that I kind of made a name for myself as when I was at Nike was being like the guy that, one of the people similar to Christian, that had his kind of ear to the street, had a finger on the pulse of what was going on with the consumer. And so, and I'm a football guy. I kind of told you my origin story. The game is near and dear to my heart. And so we got to New York City, and one of the first things that we did is when we announced our partnership with Nike, we said, like, how can we announce this? So we did some retail activation stuff where we had a concert in Nike Town with Wale, and we did this big, Christian, I don't know if you remember this big kind of reveal over in Brooklyn, I think in the Shipyards.
Yeah, I was there for that, yep.
This whole build out of the jerseys and the sportswear and the sneakers and the different colorways. And to really punctuate all of that, we said, like, how can we get closer? How can we actually bring the game into the heart of the city? And so, shout out to Rob Aldinger, who was our events leader in the New York City office. He was like, well, why don't we play a game in Times Square? And I was like, well, why don't we play a game in Times Square? Yeah. Right? And so we worked together. And listen, if anybody that's involved in marketing tells you that they did it by themselves, they're a freaking liar, because it took a small army of folks to build a killer, kick-ass flag football field in the middle of Times Square, which we went back to for the draft, an epic draft, which I know we're going to talk about. We built a football field in the middle of Times Square. We got first responders to come out and play alongside of entertainers, alongside of influencers and rappers. We had a high school marching band. Like, it was the full flavor of football. We had a locker room set up. We geared everybody up. Like, it was the full flavor of football that we brought to the heart of New York City. That's where NFS actually was born. I think, Jason, you might have caught a touchdown in the Broadway Bowl, which is what we called it.
I caught a few touchdowns. I actually won MVP.
There we go, right? So yeah. That's where the actual seeds of NFS were planted. And so I think once we went through that execution, we were always thinking about the long tail of that energy. So it's like, well, that was amazing, but how do we keep that going? And so again, since it wasn't California, Florida, Texas, where you can really drive that kind of traditional football approach from, call it, the cradle to college, you couldn't really drive that. And so we had to think to ourselves, what's the New York way to get this done? And what we found out as we dug deep is that football is this galvanizing kind of force that brings people of all walks of life together. And most unexpectedly, in the place of quote unquote influencers. We didn't call them influencers back then, but like that's what we were kind of targeting. And we made it a point to not only to try to get after quote unquote influencers, but also make sure that we were talking to both men and women, because we sat down and we got insights from everybody. We asked them how they felt about football, what a football experience means to them, who their favorite teams were, how deep those roots went. They all had stories just like Christian. In fact, Christian was, at the time, you were like in a dual role. Like, you were a Nike employee, but you were also, you had a foot in the other camp of influence as well. So
a little something, just a little something.
A little so, right?
Yeah.
So, after we kind of got we collected all of our insight, because like we could have just tried to come up with something and just force it on everybody, but we wanted people to feel invested in the process. And we also wanted to make sure that we were listening to everybody, so that whatever it was that we decided to construct and build, people would feel their imprint and see their fingerprints on it. And so the insight that we landed on was, we wanted to craft an experience that positioned the influencer as the athlete, and we wanted to take them through a full athlete experience. It wasn't about product seeding. It wasn't about, because as we discussed a little while ago, Twitter wasn't what it is today. Instagram back then in 2012, 2013 wasn't what it is today. And so these were all like nascent platforms. And so what we wanted to do was, like, say, bump seeding. We want to just take them through a full experience of what a football athlete would go through. And so from there, and I'm sprinting to a close here, but from there we said that we need to make sure that we train them. We need to make sure that we like put them through combines, right? So you got, Vashti out there running a 40, alongside of Damian Bullock. It's like, which was incredible, right? But quick sidebar, one of the things that I was so surprised by is how the competitive spirit just came out of people that you wouldn't ordinarily think. Like, you don't want to judge a book by its cover, but you look at Aristotle and you wouldn't think that he would be this uber competitive dude out there in a combine. So, that was amazing to see. And we tapped into that as the season went on. So we took them through a combine, and then, of course, we had captains, and then we had a draft, which was epic. And then from the draft, we rolled into the season, if I'm not mistaken. And then, that season, we made sure to construct that season around the pulses of the regular season. And we made sure to build an experience that allowed people to not only participate, but also consume NFL football in the process. And a huge, huge, huge shout out to the mighty Game 7 for being right there in the trenches with us, helping us to build this, construct this, and make sure that it was executed in a way that was nothing short of premium.
Yeah, shout out to Game 7. They definitely did their thing on that. So, CGF, you're in the building. You're in the office.
One last thing. Sorry, one last thing. My bad. And I would be remiss, and Christian already touched on it. My guy, Darren Ryan, at the time. Yeah. So I had hired Darren Ryan as one of my marketeers on my team. And Darren wrapped his arms around this thing in a huge way. And he was the very first official Nike Football Society commissioner. Everybody affectionately called him Commish. And it definitely wouldn't have been what it was without his leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Dan Ryan. CGF, you in the office, you're in the building, you're hearing all these, these whispers and these chatters. Like, what were you thinking? Like, yo, how can I get down? Or
yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I was like half joking when I said I was like ear hustling, because I really was. The good thing about the Eakin position at Nike is you get to touch so many different parts of the brand. Whether if you want to get into running, you can go see what the running category is doing and see if you can help out at their events. There was one summer where Paul Rivera and Chad Easterling and the basketball team, they had a court down at Rivington Street, and it was literally smack dab at Rivington. And I kid you not, I would wake up, go to the office, touch base with Kevin Oberly, and we would both get on a train and go to Rivington, and we were working out of a basketball court. So the Egan job kind of gives you that leeway to kind of, hey, I'm going to go see what NSW is doing sportswear. I'm going to go see what football is doing. And, having a bit of insight into what was going on, kind of talking to Darren and JD, I'm like, I got to be a part of this somehow, whether that's just being there or even playing. And it kind of was just like, all right, well, I can give you a little bit of insight. And I wanted to be, and I try to do this now, just having known JD for so long and just having conversations with them, just kind of getting those nuggets of what I know that I think is cool, but through his marketing lens, being that he's more seasoned and has that wisdom. So I'm like, hey, like, oh, like flag football is dope. Like there's a bunch of cool people in the city. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, who is cool? Like, and why are they cool? And what's going on? And do they like football? And I'm sitting in focus groups with them. I remember we had Portia Ellis and a bunch of her girlfriends come in, and they're like avid football fans. Went to big colleges like Michigan and Ohio State and followed their teams like the Lions and the Giants. And the stuff that they were telling us, it was just like, it's like, they were such good nuggets. It's like you can't not get excited about kind of taking this and bringing it to life. So, I mean, I was trying to get involved with it any way I could, whether that was playing, going down there, checking out some cleats. I was down to do whatever, So I was lucky enough. I think I was a captain the first season. Was I?
I think I
might have been. I got. You know what?
Yeah, you were.
Was I?
Yeah, you were captain.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I was. That's right. The Midtown Moneymakers was the name of our team. We actually
Moneymakers.
We like won the first 3 games, and then once we hit Diamond Turf, shout out to Diamond Turf and all those. I mean, they were ringers. I still don't understand how that team got put together. Yeah, Chad Easterling. Shout out to Chad, who's 6'7". Chester Berry, who ran track at North Carolina. Nick Restivo, who played tight end at Tennessee. I think he was
college, right?
Who was the person he was backing up is like an NFL like pro like perennial Pro Bowl.
It was probably Tony Gonzalez or somebody.
It was one of them. I'm like, wait, what? There was a picture. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but there was a picture that once JD and Darren left the category for other positions, and I kind of was given like the playbook, if you will. There was a picture that Nick Veer from Game 7 sent me where Nick Restivo is catching a touchdown, but he's like vertical, like he's like damn near feet in the air, and like the ball is like almost like Odell Beckham. And it's one of the greatest photos I've seen, because if you look in the background, you just see people cheering, and you really saw the excitement of flag football on a Sunday under the Manhattan Bridge in New York City. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there's been very few basketball games I've seen. I was at Rucker when KD broke the scoring record. I was at Dykeman when Brandon Jennings played against Too Hard to Guard, and it was that same type of excitement. And you wouldn't think you would get that with football in New York City.
Yeah, every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
And look, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Like, it's not like this was guaranteed to be a home run. You know what I mean? Like, put it in football terms, a touchdown, you know what I'm saying, straight out the huddle, right? Like, there were people, like, if I remember correctly,
there was a lot of haters.
Kind of like, oh my gosh, it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever, like, y'all doing this thing over there, like, okay. But once that thing started to hit, it was probably, it didn't take long. I think like
maybe the 3rd week.
Yeah, like after week 3, that thing caught fire. You know what I mean? And it was because the experience was so bananas, and it wasn't like we just rolled some footballs out. Again, it started at the same time like OTAs was going on with regular professional football. And so at that point, people were investing. And that was another thing, like the vetting process was very, very serious. Like we weren't just trying to get people that were cool kids and cool kids alone. It was, we vetted everybody.
Yeah.
Like
I remember,
let's have a conversation around what's your connection to the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talk about that. That was going to be a question I asked. Like, how did you guys decide who was going to play? Like,
so I can't speak to the first season. I'll let JD, but I remember one of the few things you told me going into season 2, and then us just kind of keep talking, when season 3 started, you were like, you have to make sure you have the right people. And I'll say this, like, I was having a conversation maybe 2 weeks ago with Rodney Rakai, who's out in LA now. Shout out to Rodney. And because they're still playing flag football out there based off of, and it's all the people that met in NFS that moved to LA. And I remember someone at Nike, I don't remember who, was like, what is this? Like, are you sure you have the right people? You don't have the right people in it. And now I look back and I'm like, okay, Rodney Rakai, Aristotle Torres, Maria Clifton, Brittany Sky,
Jamal
Lewis,
Jamo.
Jamal Jamo,
Yep.
Henny
Cameron
Palooza. You say
McCullough.
Palooza, they met at NFS. That team, like Benner and Cam, met at NFS. So like
Jason Wallace.
there was Jason Wallace. There were so
Jason
many
Wallace.
cultural movements popping off that kind of, I don't want to say that it's because of NFS, but I think NFS kind of gave people that creative push, if you will, to, hey, Benner, let's start this, Benner and Cam, let's start this, Henny party. Or even look at Rory, all the stuff Rory Farrell's doing now, from the Joe Budden podcast to working with music, and Jamal Jamo and Lita Lewis and her fitness, movement. There's so many men and women who are in that small group of people that play that are doing really dope stuff. And it's just, it's a good feeling to see when you see those men and women. When you see some of their stuff, it's like, wow, that's really dope. Like I know that person, and I've seen them grow to where they are now.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
And then even having people that were already established. I'm sorry, David. Last comment. People that were already established, like Hawaii Mike, Jason Corbin. Like these are folks that were kind of already established in their place in culture. That they weren't too big. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't too high on their stilts. That they were like, yo, forget this little thing. Like their connection to the game. Like Jay Corbin played ball in college, right? And so like their connection to the game was so deep that it was almost like it was a no-brainer for them to, strap on the cleats and participate. Sorry, I cut you off, Jay.
No worries. I think that's what to me makes NFS so great. Here we are. It's going to be 2012 was the first season, so 9 years out from season one, right? And here we are still talking about it. And to Chris's point, it's impacted people's lives. Like put us together in those teams. We made friends. We made some people became family. Some people got married. Businesses are formed.
Yeah.
You look at the guys at Last Lap. You look at
totally forgot about them. Yeah.
Paloozas. Being able to bring those creatives together in sport, as athletes, we all, you hear the cliche of, sports brings people together all the time, but it's true. We absolutely come together and, we have a like mind of how can we be better? How can we be competitive? But then how do we get to know each other? Because we're out there practicing all the time. We're taking it seriously. We practicing twice a week, game time, we thinking about this every single, every day. Season ends, it's like, all right, what are we going to do for next season? So, as a testament to also what you guys did was picking the right people, bringing in the creating that right mix of individuals who can form this whole team, right? So,
well, in the community, the power of the community is so poignant too, because I can't take. There's a number of people that I've had an opportunity to learn more about from a professional standpoint. You know what I'm saying? And either I think I've been asked to provide, references. Some people I've hired, and other people I think Christian said it earlier, like have formed businesses. So like as much as it was fun, it was a community where we got to know each other both through, interpersonal, like informal experiences, but also we got to learn more about each other as professionals, and then find those organic places of, connectivity where we could actually do some things together, which I think is the sign of a true community. You know what I mean? Yeah,
absolutely. So season one starts, it's got this, nice little baby. You guys are, trying to figure it out, gearing everybody up. I was on the East Village Knuckles. We were not that good.
Y'all didn't win a game, right?
No, we did win a game. We won a game.
Gotcha.
That was 99-cent Dreamers didn't win the game.
That's right. That was crazy.
And it became the movement to Free Rich.
Right. Free Rich. Yeah.
Shout out to Rich.
So what were some of the highlights for you guys for season one?
You want to go first, JD? Because I need some time.
You got it. You were okay. I'll go first.
Yeah.
I mean, listen. I think the biggest thing, the highlight for me personally, and this is just me kind of nerding out as a marketer, was, and remember, I'm from Texas, and this was my first year kind of like living in New York City. So I'm still wide-eyed and taking it all in. But like I remember kind of turning the corner and walking up to the bridge into the field and seeing the setup for the first time. That I got goosebumps, right? I mean, seeing the mannequins set up and merchandise, the check-in, I can see it like in my eyes right now, the check-in booth, everything was just so well done by, Game 7 and the events team from Nike. And then I remember smelling like the hot dogs and the hamburgers. Like, people don't know, like, we had a full-on tailgate situation.
Full
and
tailgate,
the food was crazy. Like, we had the TV screen so you could watch the game. So, like, and then the gameplay was surprisingly excellent. I mean, like I said, Jason, you was back there prowling around at middle linebacker / free safety. I didn't even know that was a real position. Christian, you had the mouth. You know what I'm saying? Damian Bullock was way lighter on his feet than I ever expected. Lita Lewis was intense as hell. Rita, so for me, that first game and seeing how everybody was locked in, and the real surprise for me in that whole first day experience was that nobody left until the last game was played.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, we got something. Because what I know about New Yorkers is like, yo, if it's not holding my attention, I'm out and I'm moving on to the next thing. And so it was something that like kept everybody locked in. Now on the more, I probably shouldn't even bring this up, but on the more somber side of things, I think it was like the first play from scrimmage and Hawaii Mike got hurt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like, all right.
But he came back. He came back though.
So first season, I was more on your side of things, Jason, because like I was a Nike employee. I was kind of working with Darren and JD, but I was just kind of whatever you guys needed, like, any insights. So from a fan perspective and just a participant perspective, it was like just how people like that Monday was like, yo, we got practice and what's going on. And yo, I remember low key, shout out to Low, was like, yo, man, you know where I can get some of those hand warmers where the quarterbacks. I'm like, are you a quarterback? He's like, no, but I gotta look good. I don't know who's gonna be there. And we would have crowds of people watching the game. They would just come to watch the games and talk a bunch of shit. So like, from a fan's perspective, it was just like this was the next best thing from like playing at, like I said, Rucker Park or something. Like it kind of gave you that kind of that atmosphere and energy. Now, from a Nike employee perspective, when who was their quarterback? Jay Corbin was their quarterback. When Jay snapped the ball and Mike just dropped, I was like, oh my God, this is over. Like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like my heart was in my cleat. I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? So, but to JD's point, I think Mike played all 3 years too, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So shout out to Mike and his wife played. His wife winded up playing.
Yep.
And their son was like a mascot running around and play. Like it literally was a family affair. I remember Willis, the barber, his son was always at the games and your daughter would be at the games. And it turned into, to JD's point, it was a whole community that, if you knew about it, you knew and you were there early. So you got your little plot on the side. And if you didn't know, you were trying to be there, to the point where I want to say season 2, we had to like give tickets out to certain things to even get in the park, So, I mean, that's a testament to JD and Darren, it's still one of the most amazing things in my portfolio that I give out to people. It's in there, so, it's hats off to them.
The other thing too that I really loved about it is how the ladies and the women of Nike Football Society were an integral part of the whole thing. It's not like they was a tack on. Mm-hmm. They weren't there to be cheerleaders. None of that. Like these women were. I remember like Alana Kasner, Rita, Tanika. Like I mean, out there getting it, putting moves on people, snatching flags, out there yelling. You know what I'm saying? It was just to see that this was something that that had that a dual gender appeal was super powerful. For Sunny was out there doing her thing. It was so powerful for everybody that participated in it. So shout out to the ladies of Nike Football Society for sure.
Well, a lady won MVP in the playoffs in the championship game.
Portia, was it Portia?
No, so I want to say it was Alana season 1, and then Gianna won it.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
So that's
Portia won like Rookie of the Year or something.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
But I mean,
Wow.
that's a testament to how integral it was to have like really good girls. You wanted to have girls because all the ladies were out there.
Mhm.
Well, it was a game changer. It was a game changer. It was like a cheat code. If you had to make sure that you had women that could actually play. You know what I'm saying? Because like they could make if they were a matchup problem, and they made all the difference if you had some athletic, smart, competitive women out there on your team.
Yeah, I mean, even so much so, sorry to cut you off, but so much so, I remember after season 1, I want to say it was Vashti might have come up to me and she was like, this is great, but like, if you guys do another season, you guys should think about the women's clothing. And I was like, you know what? Wow. Thank you. Like I wasn't even thinking about that. Thank you so much. So much so when we got into season 2, it's like, all right, now putting on the marketing helmet, let me get all the internal partners together and let me talk to the women's training team. Hey, what would you guys like to be your fall expression on the football field? What can we do in terms of a full look, socks and tights and compression and even at this time, this was kind of on the like beginning of when Nike women had a whole bra line, sports bra line. So like, all right, what do you guys need this realm? And this is stuff that I would have never thought about. But because she was having so much fun, she was like, you know what? If you guys do it again, this is how you can help and kind of level up and evolve this even more. And it really, really, it was like some of the best advice I got from some of the participants who played.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as a player, I had to help Ramona, shout out to Ramona, recruit.
Oh yeah.
And when I immediately said, Maria played ball. Like Maria is super competitive. Maria, come play with us. Come get down, right, on the knuckles, right. And so to which point then Christian recruited her and stole her away, and and then even her friend Maggie, I was trying to get Maggie down, and because she was another 6'2", 6'3" girl, played ball, great hands. We have her practice. And I'm like, if we could get Maggie to play with us, we would be killing. And again, CGF poaches her. So, this dual power of Nike commish, might have been a little bit of use of power, but it's cool. Like we
that's Sean Malcolm. Shout out to Sean. That's his biggest gripe with me. So if you remember, to all your listeners out there, season 1, I was not the commissioner. I was just a player. JD and Darren picked everyone, but I think they gave a little bit too much power to the actual captains because Sean Malcolm rolled in there game 1 with the Monstars from Space. He had a dude who was like the backup at Florida State. He was like the backup quarterback at Florida State. He had
Smiley.
He had Smiley. Didn't he play in college? Did he play college football?
He played at University of Houston.
Yeah. Then you had
Fraze was playing semi-pro.
Fraze was playing. He left. He finished the semi-pro tackle, full contact game to come play flag football. So then he also had Tanika, who played in the Lingerie Football League. Everyone on that team were all ringers. They were all in shape. They all had, they came, I don't know if they went to the Models out in Brooklyn, wherever Sean is from in Brooklyn, but they all had, they were given jerseys, but they had the matching headbands and like, they intimidated people. It was straight intimidation.
They did.
So they were in one conference, and then in the other conference, and I'm not sure who the GM was of that team or who the captain was, but it was Chad and it was Diamond Turf, that team that was loaded too.
Diamond Turf.
And
I think that was Damien. I think Damien was.
It might have been. Shout out to Damien. Yeah, and they were just. I think Damien just did a good job of picking people. Like he had 6'7" Chad, who's just a super athlete, and then Chester, you give him the ball and he's like Quicksilver. He's gone. So you know what I mean. So Sean's team was so stacked. Season 2, I had to do a better job now that I was commissioner, just to even some stuff out. So we had two new teams. Didn't we have two new teams? Or was that
that was season 3. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that evening things out in a second. So we went to the highlights. What were some of the headaches you guys had, like from a brand perspective for season 1? Like what was something that kind of just really was like, man, like why?
There wasn't, so it's almost like watching the Oscars, or a really well-produced kind of live TV show. Everything in front of the curtain hopefully looks great, but behind the curtains, it's like, look at all this duct tape and bubble gum. So really I think the biggest kind of challenges were on the, like selling it all in internally at Nike, getting people to see things differently. Because at the time, whenever you said football, if you think back to 2012, you think University of Florida, you think USC, you think Oregon Ducks, you think some of the high school powerhouses that exist, Don Bosco, Mater Dei, like that's where your head goes. And so when, here we come, Darren and JD and CJ Cologne, and shout out to CJ, we come talking about, we've got a flag football league that we're starting and we're going to be playing under the Manhattan Bridge. Now, of course, we did a better sell job than what I just said, but still, it was a difficult concept to get your head wrapped around because remember, even the term influencer, like I say, influencer didn't really exist back then, and this was just 8 short years ago. So that was the tough part, is just getting people to pay attention and to respect what it was that we were doing. But by midway through the season, you had, every time somebody from Portland came down to take a trip, to a market trip, travel trip, they was like, yo, I got to see this NFS thing. I got to see this NFS thing. So that really was more of an internal thing more than anything else. And the other, I guess, headache on the football side of things was sometimes access to the field was a little limited for practices. Mm-hmm. And that made it challenging to schedule. But again, that was a small kind of a hiccup that folks found a way to work around. So again, the headaches were minimal in that first season. From an execution standpoint, it was mostly on the internal selling side of things.
So how did you guys, in the season, we had Hurricane Sandy, remember? That massive.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
We had
the field got flooded. The field got flooded, right?
And our game, we played our game, Knuckles versus 3M, right before Sandy hit. Like we had to, that was like that was the game, if whoever won was going to the playoffs, basically. And we're playing, it's real football conditions. Sandy hits, fields flooded. How'd you guys convince the Giants to let us into their practice facility to, hold the playoffs and championship?
That was one of those. That was Rob Aldinger and the power of the Nike brand and the power of relationships that afforded us an opportunity to hang out over at the Giants practice facility. The Giants were great partners in all of it. We had no headaches or no problems getting in over there. They rolled out the red carpet for us. And I think really what it was just an explanation of what it was that we were trying to accomplish, what we were trying to do. And so literally it was, a conversation, and the next thing you know is like, hey, we're playing over here, which frankly worked out better than if we had played the last game and those last few games over at the field, because you had this, you walk into the Giants practice facility and the first thing you see are those Super Bowl trophies, right? So talk about like a punctuation that we didn't even plan, but it worked out as if we did plan it. And, the accommodations were dope, having an opportunity. I think we came out with smoke. The players came out through smoke, and it wound up being a blessing. So that part was not difficult. I think, again, the power of the brand and the power of relationships afforded us an opportunity to get in over there.
So, CJ, how did it feel, making the playoffs and playing on that field, while the rest was watched?
It didn't feel good because Diamond Turf, they put us in a figure 4 Nelson. I mean, like Jay Corbin was a quarterback. He looked like Doug Flutie out there, like Doug Flutie at Boston College out there scrambling. And I remember one of my good friends from college, and one of my brothers, Jamil Smith, who was on my team.
Yep.
And Jamil at one point was like, yo, he was our defensive guy because he played football. He's a safety. He was like, yo, like, I'm going to rush on his blind side and we should get at least a sack. It'll get us some momentum. They had this play to where if they saw someone rush, Chester would just stop wherever he is and Jay Corbin would just throw him the ball. It was like 3 touchdowns in a row. Like, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun playing in that game. Because they had Scott Williams. Shout out to Scotty. Scotty is the best trash talker since Gary Payton.
Ever.
So, he's amazing at it. He needs to teach a class of trash talking. So,
he got so many people off their square.
Oh, me included. I saw Scotty. I talked to Scotty not too long ago, and the thing is, people still talk about NFS a lot. And he was like, yeah, man, I was just trying to get you guys rattled. I'm like, you got us more than rattled. Like, I think we might have lost by like 28 points. But what was so dope, to JD's point, is like, I'm from New York. I'm a Giants fan. Seeing the Super Bowl trophies, being at Quest Diagnostic and MetLife, and it's like, wow, like this is the closest I'm gonna ever get to playing any type of professional football, college football. So, I mean, the whole experience was great. It's still, like I said, it's like one of those things where you don't realize it until you're like out of the moment and you're like, wow, like I was, that's where Victor Cruz played. That's where Eli Manning played. Like, so.
Right. And what really showed me that people were really feeling it is how pissed and upset people were that they lost.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a recreational football game, but like people were pissed.
That was wonderful.
Not right, and not to make fun of anybody's misery, but like that showed me how much folks cared. You know what I'm saying? And look, I got a couple of show and tell items here.
Oh wow!
This is one of them right here. So shout out to the crowd.
Wow.
Shout out to the Monstars.
Wow! Shout out to Sean Malcolm.
So everyone on YouTube or whatever medium you're gonna put this on that can visually see this. Everyone in the back row is a ringer. They all play some sort of high-level professional or semi-pro football.
Yo, all them dudes are like, look, I'm 6'3", and so I was looking up to all. I'm like, yo, what do you influence?
Yeah.
Erskine, Coffee, the other tall dude. Like, yo, that team was crazy. That team was and I'm 6'8". And like, we had when we played those guys, like that was like, it was almost like full tackle.
Yeah.
I was getting pass interference calls on every play. It's like, my guys, relax, calm down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yo, real quick, the other thing is, y'all remember this piece right here?
Yeah, I actually got mine sitting on ice right now. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like the official Nike Football Society training shoe. Did not go to retail. These were, I think we had, what was it, like 60 people, something like that, 60 or 80 people in the league. And so that's all we created. And like on the inside, it's kind of tough to see, but all of the team logos inside of it. So this was a Brian, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his last name? I forget his name. He was our special makeup footwear guru in the athletic training department, and he hooked these up specifically for the crew, man. And I think everybody that was in the NFS got a pair of those. And I haven't worn mine yet ever. Like, they still crispy, like no dirt on them, because I cherish them that much.
Oh, you can send those to Sotheby's right now. You'll get about 6 or 7 G's. Crazy. For real. So season 1 ends. We had Giants, we Giants practice field. Everybody's piling on the bus. You go back to the office. How do you convince Nike to do season 2?
Well, at that point, it wasn't even about convincing, because, like I said, like midway through the season, they saw the smoke coming from the city, and it was like, here's more money. How are you guys going to take it to the next level? And at that point, I hadn't moved out of New York just yet, but the magnet was pulling me back to Portland. So I was basically only responsible for working with Christian and working with Darren to lay the foundation for the next season. As a matter of fact, I think I was going after the draft, but the idea was dial it up. Like, how do you make it more exciting, more engaging? How do you make it more competitive? And the lot fell to Christian to become the new commissioner and figure it all out.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a quick transition. I mean, it's funny now I look back at it. That's happened twice with you and I. Like, it's like, hey, we got this plan going, and then, one of us gets another gig. So in this instance, JD, you left right after the drive, maybe a week after that. You kind of like, got everything in order. And then Darren left right after that too. So luckily I had CJ there. Shout out to CJ again. And you guys did a great job of leading the playbook. But then it was kind of a big shift at Nike. So I didn't have JD or Darren or Mark Patrick there. We had a new kind of regime of leadership, but which was good because they gave me a different, Julian Kahn and those guys gave me a different kind of lens to look at things through. Like, hey, this is what worked in season 1, season 2, how are we going to step it up? Now in season 2, that's when Twitter's kind of getting big and Instagram's getting big. And it's like, all right, so what do we do here? And then at the time, our social guy was Jared Gilman. And he was like, hey man, maybe you create a hashtag, like something you can put on, that people can kind of reference so we can go back. So when we decided we were back at the same field, and I can't take credit for this idea. I just will take credit for maybe turning my back when it happened. But CJ was like, why don't you just make a banner and put it on the scoreboard? It says hashtag Nike Football Society. So I was like, well, if you're on the FDR, if you're on the FDR and you're going south to Brooklyn, you can see the field, and there was a sign that kind of stuck off the highway. So we had the Game 7 guys put that sign on the opposite side, so you saw it when you were driving. Wasn't now looking back on it, got our hands slapped a little bit, but hey, I think it was worth it. But just kind of how did we level up there? So like we had a kind of social steam going, and then the website. So we hired one person to kind of craft short stories on the website, then the stats were a big thing. I remember people would call the office at like, I'm talking Monday, 9:30, like, yo, the stats aren't up yet.
I forgot about the stats.
The stats aren't up yet. I'm like, one, who is this? Oh, it's Rich Bodu. Rich, don't call me right now, dog. So shout out to all those guys. I mean, it was just, people were really, I remember, to JD's earlier point, Sonny hit me one day and was like, I had an interception and it's not there. I'm like, what's up? Like, I had an interception. So people were really invested in their performance, because it wasn't just a cool person football league. It was actual, like, this is the team. We have practices, we have plays, we have audibles. And then the chatter picked up on Twitter. Low Key is talking to Cam McCullough. Oh, we're gonna beat you guys this week. And Benner is talking to Roy Farrell, and you're talking to Kelly Roselle, and it's like everyone's going back and forth, to where people out of state, people I knew in DC, people I went to Morehouse with, women I went to Spelman with, were like, yo, are y'all coming to DC anytime soon? Are y'all coming to Atlanta? Like, what's going on? So season 2 kind of took it to that next level of taking what JD and Darren put together and kind of elevating it, almost like, I look at like the Lakers, right? Back then, they lose, or rather they lose in the championship, and then the next year, Magic Johnson is drafted to them. Like, it's like, how can you level up? Like, how can you already take a great thing and make it even better, right? So, that was pretty much how season 2 went.
Christian, you brought up something a couple of things back to my remembrance. That was another thing, Jason, that proved that we had something special, is that people in other cities started to reach out and say, are you bringing this here? I remember there was some flag football league that was like a Black entertainers football league that happened.
That was in DC? Oh, LA. Yeah.
It was in LA, and they hit us up. This was in season 1. They were like, yo, y'all, they were like on some, y'all bring that to LA and we smashing anything, that comes from outside our city. Whoa, hold up, bro. Like, but it was just the power and the energy of it. That was something that also, like, I think let us know that we were on to something special. And before we get too deep into season 2, I have to say that I've been to like the NFL draft. I've been to a draft party at the club level, and I've been to the Nike Football Society draft in season 2. And that, my friends.
Which one was season 2? Was that the movie theater?
Was that at Best Buy, Nokia?
That was at Best Buy, Nokia in Times Square, with the open bar. and
the bottle of champagne on the table.
Oh my gosh!
See, that's where the like New York CGF comes in. Like, in my earlier days, I'm old now. I'm a father now. I'm 39. But back when I was 29, I'm like, okay, greenhouse, like, what home, guest house, all the clubs. All right, we're gonna do a draft. How about each team get a little bottle of champagne there? Like, what can we do to, I remember people pulling up to the draft, and you guys like are walking through, and people asking for autographs, taking pictures across the street. I'm like, wow, like this has really picked up some steam. So
we had paparazzi. We had a little step and repeat out there, so it was proper. It was completely proper. And listen, just about the details. Lastly, about the details. If you know anything about like sports, every team has a media guide, basketball, media guide, football. Like, you guys thought through all of that stuff, Christian. You and Darren and the team in Game 7, y'all had media guides with people's bios and photos, and like, again, this is a very cliche turn of phrase now, but I'm going to use it. It was literally a masterclass in like event and engagement and execution across the board when you talk about partnership between a brand, a key execution partner in Game 7, and then the folks that were actually a part of the entire activation.
Yeah, and to your point, coming into the office, interviewing, taking pictures, asking me questions, filling out the questionnaires, and then seeing it on the website, seeing it in the publications, that was dope. Because that showed, to your point, that the attention to detail was in the execution of it, right? And it made us feel like, like we're part of this society, this entire organization. But before we get to the draft, because draft was probably like the thing. How did you get to that? Now in season 2, you said you want to level out the playing field. You kind of want to figure out the competitive side of it. You got the Monstars. Are they going to come back and repeat? What was your thought, CGF, in making that changing it up a little bit?
Honestly, man, from the moment people left Giant Stadium, people were talking about it. They were already like, I remember, so Rodney Rakai didn't play season 1. Like, when season 1 ended, my roommate from college, he did his grad studies at A&T. Him and Rodney became cool. He gives Rodney my number. Rodney calls me like, hey man, I'm a friend of Akil. I'm in New York. Like, I would love to play. Just so happens he knows Chad. And like, yeah, Rodney would be a great, addition. It was just stuff like that was happening like throughout the year before we even sat down with Game 7 to start planning. It was like, yo, you guys coming back, and like, I got a great idea. Like, why don't you do this? And I'm like, all right, let me try to keep a mental note and write some stuff down, and still trying to, kind of pick JD and CJ's brain. Like, CJ didn't work on NFS directly, but she did. Like, there's plenty of times where she was annoyed with me, like, Christian, like, this is not my thing, but I think you should do this. She was great. So I think going into season 2 is just like, all right, what were some of the things that we could have kind of build on? Like, there was one moment where I'm like, all right, this is what, even from like a budget standpoint, this is what we spent on the tailgate. Now, if we, instead of have Budweiser there, maybe we go some PBRs, which have a connection to Nike. Like, internally, that's going to get me some some hand claps because of the connection of PBR and Nike back in the history. But you guys are not going to know that. But that's like shaving $2,000 off the budget, which I can put toward the website, you know? And then now you guys have a destination to go to. You know, if the game's over Sunday, you have a destination to go on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, leading up to actually playing. So it's trying to figure out what I can do to create a better moment while you guys were off the field. So I don't know if you remember, we tried to do we had like the quarterback thing where you can have your quarterbacks come in and train, and that was kind of to launch a series of clothing, a series of football apparel, but I can't remember the name of it. It had all the stars, and they had the camo pants.
Yeah.
Field General or something like that?
Field General, yes, because it was just for the quarterbacks. So we had the quarterbacks come and outfitted them in the Field General stuff and put them through drills. And I was trying to figure out other ways that we can increase the realness of it and the like the authentic feel of football. So I don't know, could you make trades in season 1? I think that we added that. There was like trades.
I don't think we did. We did new trades in season 1.
Yeah,
I think that came in like season 2 and 3 maybe.
Yeah, so I was trying to just figure out how can I get this as close to Madden, you know, in real life. But
it was season 2 because that's when the Free Rich movement began. Like
exactly,
because he was a part of 99 Cent Dreamers, and he was like, "Yo, I want off this team." And
there was a post on the website that said "Free Rich."
But
it was wild.
But then he ended up staying because the way you guys, you know, did the draft, or, you know, switched up
the draft. Exactly.
He stayed on the team. That's right. Because then he was. I don't even remember that. Wow.
So what you did was you said, all right, you can keep the captain can keep was it 2 or 3 players. Everyone else went into the draft pool.
That's right. Everyone went back into the draft pool. Yeah.
And we were like, what? Who are we gonna keep? Had to keep a girl. You had to keep at least one girl and 2 guys. 1 guy, 2 guys. 2 guys. So for us, like, we kept, it was myself, Cam, and me and Cam, and our girl was Ramona because she was
the captain. Yeah.
So that was it. And then everyone else, you know, we had to let go. And
the other thing that stood out to me, I think this was season 2 when you guys did this. You guys started bringing in more star power, but what didn't Chris Carter come in season 2?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to touch on.
Stuff?
Yeah, so talking about working with your internal partners, and you know, like, so if you look at it, it was a bit of influencer marketing. You had your category marketing, sports marketing. We went to Dawn Baxter, entertainment marketing, like, you know, we want to spice it up. Can we get some people to come through and working with her and the sports marketing team? You know, we got Chris Carter to come and do like game film, like with some of the stars of the league. We had a Jordan night where the whole kit was all, you know, Jordan cleats and apparel and gloves. Trying to think, I'm leaving someone else out who came. CC Sabathia was there. He came out too as well. So, you know,
Kevin Durant.
So that was, yeah. So, I mean, that's a whole, I don't even know. I mean, all right. So I'll segue to that. Him and KD and I are cool. And I got a call one night from a number I didn't know. I'm like, hello? He's like, yo, what's up? I'm in New York. I'm like, who is this? He's like, yo, it's KD. Like, is there any way I can play on Sunday? I'm like, what, you want to play flag football? At this point, did he win the MVP yet? Was he led the league in scoring or something? It was something crazy.
Yeah.
He was still KD.
He was still Kevin Durant, right? So
right, exactly.
I have like a couple of days to put it together. And I called sports marketing and they were like, well, he wears like a size 17. We can find some cleats, you know, found some Redskins stuff or Washington football team stuff, sorry. And we got it there. So Sunday rolls around and the first game is usually at 10 o'clock. Like I get there at like 9 and I'm like walking in and Nick Veer from Game 7 and Matty D from Game 7 are like running, their eyes like wide open. I'm like, yo, what's going on? He's like, yo, Katie's been here for like an hour and a half just throwing the football around. I'm like, yo, what? So I get in there and everything is cool, but then it's like somebody from like Pro Football Talk and someone from like ESPN. So I'm like trying to get on the phone with Brian Strong from Nike PR, and it all worked out. It didn't make SportsCenter how I wanted to. I wanted to get on SportsCenter, but it got picked up by a few publications, and that was really cool. But obviously, you know, me being able to pull some strings, he played on our team, and we got blown out by Diamond Turf again. So, you know,
even with
a future Hall of Famer, a 7-foot future Hall of Famer, who he threw the only touchdown. So we were just using him wrong. He should have been playing quarterback the whole game. He threw the only touchdown. We lost like 28-7, and he threw a touchdown to Benner Hall in end zone. So, but it was really cool, man. And then I remember Rajon Rondo came to watch a game. I'm at one of Cam McCullough's events, Duce Palooza, and I'm talking to Kazim. Shout out to Kazim Famuyide. I'm talking to him backstage. He's like, yo, I want you to meet someone. And Wale comes up to me. He's like, yo, man, can I play? Like, what's up? And I'm like, I don't know what you know. It was a lot of that going on to where you would have people come up to you and like, hey, man, I'm trying to play, and what do I have to do, and what's going on? There was rumors going around that we had like Nike Football Society DC. People were going to travel from New York to DC on the weekends just to play. So, I mean, it was so much. Yeah, people said that people were selling tickets to every Sunday. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot going on. That
was my team.
It truly did have the city on fire, man. It did.
My squad, the Knuckles. We had Howard Homecoming, so they were going to Howard Homecoming like every year. So that's
right. Yeah, because they were performing and then coming back to play. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be like 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're all pulling up drunk. It's like, hey, what's up?
But the crazy thing is, they would throw their Duce Palooza, or at that time it was Hey Palooza in DC, and it would like, without fail, they were at the game before tip off or you know, the coin toss rather. But it was just the dedication that everyone had, regardless of all the other stuff they had going on, was just phenomenal. You know.
Yo, you just mentioned coin toss again. Details.
Oh yeah,
we even had like that national anthem.
I'm trying to think. I might have the coin. I thought I had it. I don't. You know what? Joe Ziegler made a coin for the.
Joe.
He made a coin, NFS coin. I have to find it. I have it here somewhere. It's in one of these boxes. But yeah, man, it's just the dedication. Like
so many details, man. So many details.
People went out of their way to really. I remember, who was it? Ryan, or I can't remember who it was who got Roberta's Pizza to come and they did the tailgate once. Like
that's right. They had like a brick oven.
Yeah, like you know, just everybody wanted to be a part of it somehow and help move it forward. And yeah, it was really dope.
Yeah, that was that was our team. That was our guys. That beast.
That's right.
Yeah, that beast thing was amazing. The most expensive pizza in the city, though.
No doubt.
So we had a team meeting. We had a team dinner there. We went there, because again, I guess that's our guy. And we got done. Like we look at this bill, and we're like, "Yo, like, what kind of pizza is like,
an artisan pizza?
We're in Bushwick, like we're in the hood. It's crazy. It was but it was a great team. But that's the thing. Like we wanted to build a relationship with each other off the field, and so we felt like let's go together and let's go eat and let's break bread and let's get to know each other, and that made us a better team. Because again, season 1 we were terrible because we didn't know each other, and then season 2 as we drafted. And we became the OVO Knuckles because like half my team was in love with Drake at the time. Mm-hmm. And so now we become this rock star team, and we're like, halftime, guys are taking drinks, now you got the drinks on the sidelines. Like we really became like this partying team. And it was cool because we were winning. Because we grabbed Jamil from your team. That was a great pickup. We brought in Rory. We lost Abe to Diamond Turf, but then we bring in Rory.
Shout out to Abe, man. How's he doing? What's up with Abe, man? How's he doing?
Abe is with DraftKings. out in Chicago. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna reach out to Abe. When I was in Chicago for my time, like we hung out a couple times. We actually played flag together out there. But like, yeah, we changed our team, and it also fit the culture. And as we became more expressive, you can see the rest of the league kind of take that in, right? And then we started to see like the hashtags, like the OVO Knuckles, and other teams started to kind of mimic that. Like, we got our own identity, and it just made it that much more competitive. And the Dreamers, now they got Earl, they got Kaz, they got Rich, they got Fox playing with the tutu. You had the tutu game. You had
yeah. Remember, Fox Island was a thing. You didn't throw the Chris Fox
Island.
So then those guys go to the playoffs. They had Vince. Vince not looking at you look at Vince, you're like, nah, he's not going to be that quick. He's not going to be that good. And, this guy is like getting down the field, faster than everybody and out jumping people. And then Earl had a chip on the shoulder because he played with Chinatown season 1. They lose in the playoffs. And then he wasn't even quarterback, and he won the quarterback. Goes to the Dreamers, and then he sets all his records, and he's an MVP. And he's throwing the ball everywhere. So, it was, from my perspective, it just got better. Like it elevated, because now we knew what to expect, and we also knew like the experience from Nike as far as you saying like Chris Carter coming in, CeCe coming in, doing the Jordan Day, getting us the pink cleats. I mean, and the pink tights and the pink gloves for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Those little touches, made us feel like, like we're part of the family, like we're part of this NFL experience. We just, in every given Sunday, somebody can win. And so that was for us, like, it was just really, really, really just amazing that, again, Nike would invest this much time, energy, capital in making sure that we had this amazing experience.
Jay, CGF, it was like we said earlier, it didn't take very long for us to realize that we had something special. And I think, like I said, about week 3 of season 1, the people started to take notice. But when I knew that the Nike Football Society had arrived at Nike, it started in season 2, but it really came to life when I looked up and I saw the Nike Football Society featured in a Nike sportswear magazine and spread. I was like, oh yeah, like it's like the society has arrived. You know what I'm saying? Like it was basically in its full bloom at that point where, everybody was was being featured in this really dope kind of New York authentic, winter authentic lookbook, as it were. And I at this point, I was back in Portland, and I remember actually seeing it. Like, I think somebody got me a copy of it, and I was just like beaming with pride because I knew, what Christian and CJ and Julian Kahn and the team worked to get Damien, everybody worked together to help, take it even higher than where it was. And I think it was just and then of course to see it move over to the West Coast was another sign of the power of the platform that had been created. So, listen, man, it's a lot of fun to kind of think about and to reminisce on. And, I hope you guys are proud, to be a part of it, because I'm definitely proud to be a part of it.
Yeah. I think the craziest thing, I remember that lookbook. The craziest thing was, like, I remember going to the Game 7 office one day to kind of check the kind of social media outreach, like, back then, like whatever tools that they were using back then to see how many impressions Twitter had. And you would look and you would see that hashtag, and it'd be a kid going to football practice in like Dallas in the Nike Football Society, like, or it even got some like European football traction. It started picking up and people started really getting involved with it. Even like a couple of weeks ago, I searched it, and now, because Twitter kind of deleted all the old stuff, you can't really find it as much, but it's still out there. And at its height, at its pinnacle, I think it really was. I know people use this word for everything, but it was a movement. I can't really describe it any other way.
Absolutely, it was a movement. There's no question. But then you took that movement to season 3, right? So now you've had season 2's draft. You've had the shenanigans of open bar and everyone being out and having fun and being free, and mannequins disappearing and helmets walking away, and champagne buckets being magically returned.
I remember that one too. Yeah. Yeah.
Now you're planning the draft for season 3. Like what did you decide to do to change it up?
I knew I could not have a repeat of season 2 draft, not because it was bad, but it was too much. Like it was too much. Like you gotta at some point there, and this is totally my fault. Like you lose a little bit of, your marketing lens because you're like in it. So I had to like take a step back, and this was CJ like, yo, Christian, like, listen, take a step back, let's recalibrate and let's figure it out. I wanted to do something cool, something different. So I knew that I wanted to change location and I actually was in the vein of saving money because Best Buy Theater was ridiculous. So I don't know, is that Houston? It's on Houston.
Yeah.
No, is it? Yeah. Houston there's a movie theater. It's probably closed now. I haven't been down there forever. But we rented that movie theater out, and it's like, all right, well, why don't we use what elements are already here, and we turn it into like a film. So we gave each team a movie poster, kind of did the black and white thing. And I don't remember who at Game 7 who they hired or who was responsible of putting the film together, but it was great. It was hilarious. Each chapter, each team had like their own kind of chapter, and they did a little kind of just funny skit. And right after the team was drafted, and we already knew the draft order, so the draft order would go up. Everybody would come on stage and it'd be a big group photo. So just wanted to kind of do something different, but we still kind of kept the elements, and it still was a marketing exercise. As when you walked in, we had all of the new college football jerseys in there. I don't know if you remember. At this time, this is when Oregon was really kind of taking off with all the different jerseys. So I think we had like 4 different type of Oregon jerseys there. Kind of the full kind of, I think it was called the system of dress or whatever. So yeah, I just wanted to do something cool, and I thought it'd be different to kind of show a movie and not have a full-on rager in Manhattan.
So as a player, what they also did was they took, so we got to keep one girl and we kept 2 guys. So for this time, for our team, it was myself and Ant. Yeah, me and Ant. We stayed, and now we had Maddox was our captain because Ramona left, and so we all met up at a bar where we had some drinks, and then we got put into the back SUVs, and we got pulled up as a team to the red carpet. We got to take pictures and have that experience as well. But the draft itself, we didn't know who. As much as I helped, Maddox draft our team, because I literally gave her like the sheet, like, here's the rankings of who I want drafted on this team. We didn't know. How did you keep that secret? How did you threaten those captains to keep that secret?
We just did. The draft was it was like 2 days before. So if you couldn't really hold the secret for 2 days, like it just was like, we knew who everyone else picked, but we didn't tell, like, I don't know who, I think Coleman took over the team after I became the commissioner. Like Coleman didn't tell Sharda who picked who. We just kind of like, yo, just keep it to yourself. We'll have a big reveal at the draft. It just worked out that way, honestly. I'm sure some stuff leaked out, but some things just work out that way. Like, not to fast forward, but like the finale in Giant Stadium, like Diamond Turf wins, and rumor is that the guy who was going to set up the fireworks was like, it was like a movie. He's like eating a sandwich, and then something fell and the fireworks went off. So stuff like that always, I don't know. I was on the field. The fireworks went up when they were supposed to. So, people just didn't spill the beans,
Pure comedy. Question: How did the Don Bosco game come about?
So the field just wasn't available that weekend. And being that Matty D and Justin Leonard at Game 7 went to Don Bosco, they had access to the field, and we just kind of pivoted there. So that wasn't like a big thing. It just was, the field wasn't available. We were getting at that point, season 3, I would get a call every week or so from this guy who was like, hey, I need the field. You guys have it on Sundays. And I'm like, that's the only day we have it. He was like, no, you guys have it all week. I'm like, no, sir. Like, I've had, like, it got so crazy that it got, like, Rob Aldinger and the events team and Perry Jacobs, they were getting the calls too. Like, the field, when people started to hear about it, they would come down to the field, and it was always something. So that just one time was, the field wasn't available. We got to use Don Bosco, who just happened to be the best football program in the tri-state area. So it made sense. Yeah. So, you know, that wasn't anything big.
That was a nice field trip. As a player, it was fun to get out the city and get over there. Half my team drove. So JD, like, we were playing Diamond Turf. And you know, now the Knuckles, we started off 0-2. Everyone thought, like, oh, same old Knuckles. We got Ricky off of the wait list, who became our quarterback.
And Ricky. Oh, Rick, yeah. We went to Morehouse for a minute too. Yeah. He's actually, if you guys, I don't know if you guys have talked to him, but he started this CMOS company that's doing really well. Shout out to Rick. Yeah.
Healthy Vibes.
Rick DeCosta, yep.
Yeah, Healthy Vibes. You know, and so Rick been playing with us all summer, working out with us. He played softball with me. And so I knew, like, hey, this guy, you know, we played in the Red Bull, the hard yard. We played on that too. So I was like, I knew this guy could help us. And so, you know, we had Sav from MMG. We drafted him, but he never showed up. So, you know, Maddox said to CJ, like, yo, we need a new player. We need somebody. And I remember, Christian, you was like, all right, I'm going to send Sav an email today. And if he doesn't respond by Friday at 5 p.m., you drop him and we pick up a guy. So we were literally sitting there like, all right, it's 4:59. All right, 5 o'clock. Does he respond? No. Because we knew Rick was next. And I knew, like, you know, it was like, if we could get Rick to play receiver, then that gave me another weapon. And then Matt Babel, he was kind of in and out. He finally settled in. Who else? We had like Ant was settling in. Like, our team kind of like gelled. But we get to this game. Now we're on this winning streak, and we get to the game at Don Bosco, and half the team is not there. So Rick's called me. He's like, hey, like, I got like 4 people, maybe 5 in my truck. We on our way. So we're like, all right. So we're watching this game. We watching all the games, and Geometry was looking at us, and we start warming up, and it's like me and like 4 of our girls. So, you know, we're not looking at in Apollo. So we're not looking at Formidable, and they're really hyped. They're like, yeah, we're gonna kill them. And then Rick comes out, and like our whole team comes like trotting the field like like it was a movie.
Like the cavalry showed up.
Exactly. Like, so we ended up beating them. So we beat Diamond Turf, and you know, that was like, all right, we can get to this. You know, if we could beat them, like we feel like we're getting better. We're gonna get to the playoffs. And then we had to play the Wave. So Cam's team. So,
well, shout out to them, because that was like the full expression of, I mean, you put the team together, and at this point, to all your listeners and viewers, Cameron McCullough is the captain, Mr. Duce Palooza, Richard Bodu, Chris Fox, Kazzy, their whole crew was.
Oh my gosh, that was a squad.
Yeah.
So the first game, JD.
And Joe was quarterback.
Yeah, Joe Ziegler. The first game, they come out and they're all on the field, and then I see, like, out the corner, Rich running with a flag, like it's like a huge flag, and he's just running, and it's a big Wave flag, the whole logo. And he's running, he's doing the whole. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I mean, they had the place on tilt. Shout out to the Wave. They were not that good, but their energy and their social media presence, literally, season 3, like, carried. And I'm not saying this in no hyperbole. Like, they were like the lion's share of the excitement that came from other cities because their social media reach as a team was so wide.
Right.
You know, that's when Lowe started blowing up, and Rory and Kaz, and like, you know, their hosting things started going, you know, getting bigger. And yeah, they would have 50 people watching the game for that. They would lose, but it didn't really matter.
Well, they were competitive. They were close. It was pretty tight. They should have drafted a quarterback, but you know, they won the tailgate though. You know, and that was the thing.
Oh, they won the tailgate every Sunday.
Absolutely, but you know, it came down to the next to last game. We had to, again, whoever won makes the playoffs, and so you know, our team, we ended up winning that game, and you know, Brandon, who was our quarterback, Brandon Hoy from season 1, who owns Roberta's. Brandon, Brandon actually, you know, going back, like after week 2, Brandon couldn't be at the third game. So we're at practice, we get Ricky, and we're at practice, and I'm like, all right, I guess I got a quarterback because I know all the plays. I create all the plays, and we're starting it, I'm throwing it, and then I'm like, Rick was like, y'all could throw decently, let me try. So I'm like, all right, go for it. And he's throwing the ball like 40 yards, 50 yards, done. Because I'm better as a weapon as a receiver, well, by far. So Rick takes over, we win, and then we got to have that conversation like, hey, Brandon, you know, you've been our quarterback for the first 2 seasons, but we think we can do better with Rick. And having that, and you know, he was like, hey, you know what? I'll play defense, I'll play receiver, whatever you need. So, you know, so that was a testament to his character of, you know, taking that step over and saying, all right, whatever the team's going to do, how are we going to make the team better? Like, I'm with it. And absolutely made us better. And full circle, he catches the winning touchdown to put us in the playoffs. You know, and that's one of the pictures that we capped that I want to say either Natasha or Raven captured of him making the game-winning touchdown catch to get us there. So, you know, shout out to
talk about not to cut you off, but talk about, you know, just people who are involved with the league that are blowing up. Look at Raven.
Yeah.
She's Beyonce's photographer now.
Yeah.
And, you know, Natasha's a great photographer as well. Like, look, there's just so many people that were involved in that league that, like, are just doing really dope stuff, man. Shout out to everybody. You know, I know we've mentioned a lot of people, but there's so many names that we haven't mentioned that people are just doing great stuff. It
was funny because, like, season 2, like, you know, Natasha's got a camera out, she's taking pictures, and then, you know, she sent them over. We're like, yo, these are dope, and we're posting them on social right away. And we're like, yo, like, you should do this for season 3. Reach out to Game 7, you know, and be the official photographer. And same thing with Raven. Like, she was kind of like, you know, she was checking people in. She was, you know, just kind of helping, you know. But her passion was photography. So it was like, yo, Raven, get your camera out here, take pictures. Like, here's your shot. Like, just do it. And, you know, if they say no, like, you're gonna get your, you know, there's enough people here, enough of us that are gonna vouch for you that you're a great photographer. And, you know, and now look at her, like, she's Beyonce's personal photographer, right?
Yeah, super dope.
So, you know,
dog, I'm just over here scrolling through a few images on Instagram. It looks like in 1 year y'all got Ndamukong Suh out there. That must have been like year 3. I'm looking at
he was out
posted
there
up with Ndamukong Suh. Yeah, like, yo, this is wild.
That's
this is after I moved on.
There was, I know Hakeem Nicks came.
Yep.
Kevin Durant, Rajon Rondo, CeCe Sabathia, Chris Carter. I don't remember Ndamukong Suh out there, but hey.
I think Ndamukong came with Hakeem Nicks because I want to say
that's what it was.
Yeah, I want to say I was at the Jordan week for season 3.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I found the picture of the flag for the wave. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that flag.
This is after I moved on. This is epic.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan, like.
Yeah, it was crazy. But so awesome. All good things come to an end. We're in the playoffs. We're hyped. Playoffs are going to be at Giant Stadium now. Like, what was that conversation like with the Giants?
So I've been trying to remember his last name, but the Giants contact was a guy named Ethan. I think he might still be there, but I just kind of kept in contact with him from when the transition happened with JD and Darren transitioning to other roles in Portland. And I remember we went to check it out, and they were like, hey, this is all included. Like you get the stadium, you get 2 locker rooms, you get the announcements. But then me, kind of just the way I think, I'm like, I'm thinking I'm in the club where the sparklers at. What's up with the fireworks? How do we get that? So initially, we were going to hire Kellen Dengler and his brother to do the drone, but you can't fly over MetLife because the airport's too close. So they were like, no, don't worry about it. You can use the NFL camera. And we had, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was the camera like on that string going back and forth.
Yeah.
Like, it literally, if you watch the game from inside the Giants like Legends box where it was our kind of like tailgate because it was so cold outside, it looked like an actual game. You had the announcer, you had, kind of the aerial cam. It actually just worked out, man, they just did everything. It was all kind of encompassed in one. We didn't have to build anything. We just had to come with the players and, the jerseys, and yeah, it just worked out. And, it's kind of one of the cooler things. Just like, hey, who can say they played a flag football game at MetLife Stadium? And MetLife was newer at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had just been built. I want to say in like 12, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. It wasn't that old. And fun fact, the president of the Giants at the time, a guy named Mark Lamping, I think is his name. He's actually my boss today.
Oh wow!
President
it's all
president of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a Giants fan, I got to bring my dad to the game. So my dad's a lifelong Giants fan. Well, I actually found out that he was at first a Cowboys fan. I found it out today. I was shocked. I was like, what? But
what? How's that work?
I know, right? But what he said was when Jerry Jones came in and fired Tom Landry, that's when he switched over to Giants. So I was like, all right, cool. So that's well before my time. But he raised me as a Giants fan. And so it was dope that I could bring my dad to the game. And my dad being able to see the trophies and seeing the jerseys and seeing the locker room and, being on the field and taking pictures and seeing his son playing on this field. Like that was, probably one of the greatest moments and greatest experiences I could ever have, because I got to show him something that, give him an experience that he would have never gotten any other way. Right. And we've gone to a couple games, but being on the field, right. And then, seeing the trophies right there. That was amazing. Even though Ernest did fracture or bruise on my ribs in our playoff game, and so I had a
small price to pay.
So that was.
It worked out too because it was so cold. That was, I think, the first time where players actually used like the cold weather gear. I don't think we ever used it in 3 seasons. So it was like you guys had it. It kind of everything had a function, and I think I still do have the recap where you look at kind of everything, and it was, how did we encompass women's training, men's training, football? Did we tap the digital team? What did we use for footwear? What was the on-field expression and the off-field expression? It is, to JD's point, a masterclass in just the gamut of marketing and how many different ways and how many moving parts. And I steal this from you all the time, JD. Like you told me a long time ago, like spinning a bunch of plates and making sure they're all moving at once. Like that's what NFS is like. Regardless of what's going on, is the signage right? Are we ready to go with the digital asks and working with the entertainment marketing team? Are they set up? What time are they supposed to be here? How long is the appearance? When are they leaving? Like there's so much stuff that you had to think about. Once it all came together, it was perfect.
So wrapping up, what was the one lesson that you feel like you learned putting NFS together, being part of NFS?
You want to go first, JD?
One lesson. Nah, you go first. I gotta think.
There's a few. I don't think there's just one. One is jokingly, never have open bar at a draft. That's one. Okay, cut them off. That's one. But on a more serious note, I think as a marketer, if you really, really sit down and you look at all the tools you have from your internal partners, your external partners, your agency, and you really sit down and you really, really take the time to craft something, you can create some really, really dope stuff. And that's whether it's, Nike Recess Federation, which was the basketball thing way back in the day, or Nike Football Society, when you really put your mind and you really kind of sit down and you map it out, you work with everyone and you really, really get in the weeds, because that's where, the devil's in the details, you can come to some really great work. And that's one thing I've tried to pass on throughout, my experiences in marketing, whatever I'm working on. And even when people ask me, for advice or whatever. So yeah, I think it's just really looking at whatever your marketing, goal is, and really getting down into the details and making sure that you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's and you're keeping everything moving, as one cohesive machine.
Dope.
Well, Christian, you bought me a lot of time to think about something really smart to say, and I'm gonna fail miserably. I honestly don't have anything super clever or profound to say, but I do think that I probably have like two takeaways, and one of them is to, like, again, not profound, but don't underestimate the power of community. To take something and make it special, take it to the next level. NFS as an idea on the surface at the time was a little difficult for people to get their heads wrapped around, but it was easy for the community to get their heads wrapped around it. The community was like, I love football, I like these people, or there's a common ground that I have with these people. Let's get after it. It was that simple when you boil it all down. And the power of the community is really what took Nike Football Society over the top. And that community gave birth to a crap ton of relationships that, as we've been talking about throughout, still exist to this day. I'm in touch with a number of NFS folks, including you guys, on a regular basis. Count you all as friends, as mentors, as support staff. And that's worth its weight in gold. So, basically the lesson there is like fighting through the inertia of people not actually getting the idea and holding on to the community that does get the idea and allowing them to help take it and elevate it and make it further. And then the last thing is similar to what Christian said, as a marketeer, when you have an idea, and I learned this from guys like David Schreiber, Chris Amon, Jabari Hearn, who I worked with at the Swoosh, Mark Patrick, Davide Grasso, the details is where the greatness actually happens. And so throughout this conversation, Christian, Jason, myself, we've been talking about those details that really help to make this, to add energy and engagement to the whole execution, whether it's the tailgate, again, Game 7, the digital experience, the pizza, having the brick oven out there, the media guide, all those details, the combine, the training, the draft, having Chris Carter there, those details are really what, again, help to push it over the top. So those are the two big learnings for me that, honestly, I still use those learnings in general terms in the work that I do to this day.
No, definitely appreciate it. Definitely some great insights from a marketing perspective, for sure. I want to thank you guys for joining us. This has been a great stroll down memory lane.
You got to bust this up into two episodes, man. We went.
Yeah. This might have to be a part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, we might do that. Figure something else out. But but I appreciate you guys spending the time with me. Where can our audience find you guys on social media?
I don't know if I want to be found on social media. First of all,
you're a daddy now, bro. You're a daddy.
Yeah. No. Everything. I'm daddy mode now. But if you want to look at my black and white photos on my Instagram, it's Chris G Fields. And if you want to hear me rant and rave about comic book movies and sports, it's Chris G Fields on Twitter as well. So both Twitter and Instagram, Chris G Fields.
You don't want to hear his perspective on comic book movies because he has impeccably horrible taste in his point of view on comic book movie villains, specifically in the Batman franchise. I'm gonna leave it
the
there.
Batman franchise.
Another pod.
You can find me at JDH Town on Twitter, Instagram, where else am I? LinkedIn, Clubhouse, all that sort of stuff. So JDH Town.
Dope. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Have a good evening, man.
Hey,
miss you guys.
We
gotta get up soon.
For what it's worth, I'm immensely proud of both you guys, man. Y'all are doing great things. Keep up the great work, and thanks, Jason, for doing this.
Thank you, JD. Appreciate that for sure.
Thanks, JD, man. You'll probably get an annoying text from me probably next week or something just to check in.
Yo, great conversation. Yo, definitely took me back. I love the fact, Christian and JD were able to come on and really just give us those insights on what it was to create NFS, maintain NFS, but then also when you think about a big company like Nike, how do you create that momentum? How do you actually get in there and get the buy-in to, do the programs that you want and, show them that, hey, this is something that's good that's going on here. And I think, JD spoke to it well. It's once, we saw how it was taking off, the buying was easy, the sell was easy. And that's a testament to the community. Like I said, and before, you have the players that were in NFS, we formed a family. We've got lifelong friends, you've got people who got married, are in relationships, business partners. A lot of us, still in communication with each other to this day. And so that's a testament to the community that Christian and JD and Darren created. Shout out to Dan Ryan, integral part of NFS, year one commissioner. Wish we could have you on the pod, but hopefully maybe next time we can have that conversation with you. So, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. We're gonna have some more conversations with NFS members. I think you'll like those as well. Hit the subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think. All right, until next time, peace.